Measurement of variables. The learning outcomes include describe how to create an operational definition for variables, explain difficulties in accurately measuring a variable, summarize different types of scales that may be used to measure variables, evaluate Likert scales, explain how statistics are used to help determine goodness of measures, and analyze statistics that are used to assess items. Operational definitions give meaning to the variables in your study by using concrete measurement terms for the variables, allowing others to assess the validity of your definitions and your study. Operational definitions are needed so that the variables in your study can be measured correctly by you and by others. What specifically does your concept mean? You should define it so that others could come behind you and measure the variable in similar ways. Let's look at an example. We want to determine if age is related to technology use. There are only two variables that we need to measure here. Variable 1 equals age. Easy, right? How do we measure it? Years plus months, rounded to the nearest year or month, or day or hour? Maybe we use date of birth and then calculate age. Even something as easy as age has to be carefully defined. How about variable 2, technology use? In this case, it is defined as the amount of time the user logged into the system at work each week. In this case, the time is automatically logged by the system and recorded as 23 minutes and 6 seconds. If you ask people about their technology use, then you run into serious problems with self-reports. People lie, they are unsure, they don't know, they don't care, whatever. By specifically identifying how we measure the variables, we have created operational definitions. Some types of measurements are easier than others. Let's take a look. For instance, width, height, and volume are generally easy to use with caveats. Demographic information is easy to ask, but getting reliable information from people is hard due to inherent problems with self-reports. When you get to beliefs, attitudes, intentions, and behaviors, it's even harder to get good measurements. Again, self-reports are inherently bad, but they're often the only way we have to get the information we need. There are numerous scales that allow you to distinguish individuals from each other, including ranking, absolute zero, and Likert scales. Ranking puts items in order. For instance, I rank Breyer's Cookies and Cream number 1, Klondike Minis number 2, and Snickers ice cream bars number 3. But they're all chocolate, so it's all good. Scales have an absolute zero. Everyone starts at the same place, assuming the scale is accurate and is recalibrated between weighing. For me, I use whichever scale weighs me the lowest. Likert scales are ones we have used since grade school. How much do you agree with a statement? They have inherent limitations. People tend to start marking all as strongly agree or strongly disagree, or they skip questions, or they just get tired. There are techniques you can use to minimize these limitations, but you need to be aware of them. To have a good measure, the concept should accurately describe how to measure the variable. If someone else has the information, they should be able to measure the same variable in a different study. You must include all of the dimensions and elements that are essential to understanding the variable and not include elements that are not needed. When you use Likert scales, you test to make sure that the items in your survey hang together. That is, do the items you intended to measure one variable actually move together in predictable manners? Cronbach's alpha values of 0.8 or higher generally indicate high agreement of items. You also need to know if the instrument measures the concept similarly over time. That is it reliable? You should assess validity as well to ensure that you are measuring the concept you intend to measure. In sum, measuring variables is hard. You can make it easier by creating a detailed, complete operational definition for each of your variables, including all necessary components while omitting extraneous elements. Likert scales are often used and are an easy way to gather a lot of data quickly. However, self-reports have limitations and you lose rich data you might gather in interviews or open-ended questions. Statistics help to determine how well a set of data fits the model with p-values less than or equal to 0.05 desired. You should check and report on validity, reliability, and Cronbach's alpha where relevant. P-values usually equal 0.05.